Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you some basic Linux commands. As you can see, I'm using Practice Cloud. So to start reservation, I can go to reserve for myself and select the book Linux hands-on. Then you should be able to see the experiment, which I already reserved. So let's get to the Linux commands. So here, as you can see that I'm already reserved one. So I simply enter the environment where I have a server and a client. Server is basically a Linux virtual machine. I have a Tom and a student account. I'm going to use account student. And I have a client, another virtual machine. They should connect with each other. So here I'm simply just following the menus. By following the menu, then I can complete, I can go over all the steps. Of course, the first step you want to do is that you want to log in the virtual machine, and we have two virtual machines here. Let's open a new window for the server and the new window for the client. And now let's log in. And according to this instruction, the password is a reversed word of student and replacing E as 3. So simply typing 3DUTS, and then you are getting, right? So we get into the server. And then with the client, we can log in with the same password. Now we have two virtual machines logging, and then now we want each virtual machine to connect with each other. Our virtual machine by default have set up a firewall that does not allow other attackers to visit your virtual machine. So you want to turn off the firewall for your peer virtual machine. For the server, then you need to turn off the firewall for the client, right? So what we're gonna do is that you wanna first find out the IP of the server. In Linux, you can use the command ifconfig, right? So then you will see a bunch of output, but the string that have the start with 192.168, it is basically an IP address of the server. And then with the same thing, you can find out the IP address of the client by typing ifconfig. And then you can see that this is the IP address of the client. So now those two virtual machines should connect with each other. If you type, you already know that the server has an account called Tom. So if you want to remote connect to Tom's virtual machine at Tom, so then you can type SSH and the username Tom at and the IP address of the server. In this case is 1.45. So 2.168.1.45. If you type in, then you probably won't be able to connect. It's because that the server has not turned off its firewall. So we need to turn off the firewall for the client. To do that, this is what we can do. By following instruction, you want to use the command sudo UFW, stands for Ubuntu firewall, and allow from with the server, then you should allow from client, right? So then basically sudo UFW allow from, and then IP address of the client, it's 1.1.1, right? So 192.1.90.91, right? So 0.91. Yeah. So here it asks you to type in the password for the student. You already know it's TN3DUTS. And then now the firewall has turned off. And as you can see that you can SSH to this virtual machine, to the town, right? So to the server at the town. So you probably want to type yes and then type in password for Tom. This is going to be TOM, Tom. And now you should be able to see that you can see that now in the client, but you can see that you are basically get the prompt from the Tom at server, right? So you're actually at the server now. So if you type ifconfig, you can see the IP address is 45. That is actually the IP address of server, right? So how do you get exit and get back to the client? Simply type exit, right? So you can do the same thing so that on the server, so that you can SSH to the client. You want to do sudo ufw allow from, right? So type the IP address of the server, which is 45, right? So 192.168.1.45, right? So then typing and type the password for student tn3duts. Now the server can SSH to the client, right? So so client don't have a user called Tom, but it has a user called student. So you can try to SSH with the student account. So use SSH and then student at, use the student account at IP address of the client, right? So it's 192.168.1.91, right? 0.91. Then hit enter, and you can see that you can actually connect to the client. Type yes, then you will be able to ask to type in the password, right? So the password, remember, this is the password of the student at the client's machine, right? So in this case, it's going to be tn3duts, right? So now, as you can see, now you are now at the student, right? So you are the student at the client, but you're actually in the virtual machine of server, right? So so remember that now the client will be able to connect to the server, and server will be able to visit the client, but other virtual machines on this platform won't be able to visit your virtual machine because you haven't turned off your firewall for the other virtual machines. Remember that do not turn off the firewall for other virtual machines, because if you do so, then malicious user probably be able to visit your virtual machine, right? So again, you can exit and to get out of the client's shell, right? So now you're back to the server. So now that's pretty much how you set up the environment. So how do we actually so what kind of commands that we can learn in this session? We'll start from basics. So definitely the very basic skill you want to learn is that how to find out what files is included in the file system, right? So in this instruction, you can see that basically this is an example of the file system. As you can see, Linux is managing the file system in a tree-based structure, and usually a student will be stay in the home directory. Usually a user, when they log in, they will be stay in the home directory. So in this case, it's going to be, if you use a command pwd, then it will show your current directory, and it's going to be home student, right? So because you are at the user student, then you are at the position home and student, right? So home and student, right? So that's your home directory, and you may want to find out what materials is in there. You want to use command ls and to list the documents in here, right? So you can see that here the blue strings representing a folder, white strings representing an ordinary file. Some other special files are representing different color. Let's say the jar file. Jar file is a Java zip file. It's actually located under is actually displayed in a red color. Right? So those are the directory and files in your current folder, right? So you want to see what is included in the file under the any of the folder, right? So if you get into here, then you want to see what is included in the desktop or what is included in the downloads. How do you do that? You want to use command cd, right? So cd and space, and also provide the directory you want to get in, right? So in this case, it's going to be documents, right? So if you want to go to the documents, now you type password pwd, then you will see that's your current directory, right? So then you can see use ls again to find out what is included in there. Actually, there's nothing there, right? Maybe there will be some other files that you want to further extend. Let's see what files is provided in here. So as you can see, yeah, if you go to public, then you probably find some other files, maybe some files that we can play with, right? So how do we get to the upper? So right now we are in the home student documents directory. How do we get to the parent directory student? In Linux, you want to still use a CD, but how do you specify the parent folder? You use a 2 period or 2 dot and hit enter. Now you are at home student, right? So now let's go to public, right? So cd public. So here's 2 tricks that I want to show you. One is that when you firstly Linux directory are case sensitive, right? So if you simply type public, and probably will tell you no such folder, you have to type a case sensitive directory. Another trick I want to show you is that you can use a tab key to let the command line to help you to automatically fill in what you are trying to type, sort of to speed up your efficiency. Right. So let's say I type pub and I hit the tab key, then it will automatically fill in the automatically provide a public string. Right. So sometimes when you just type some characters and there are maybe multiple choice, let's say if you type character P, and there are actually 2 choices for you to use, right? So when you hit the tab and you didn't see anything, right? But when you hit the tab key for 2 times, then you should be able to see that it actually tell you what the option is there, and you can pick any of it. How do you pick that? You will just continue type another characters. For example, I want to go to public. I just type U, right? So hit enter, then I hit the tab, then it will go to public. So now we can see that we can find some folder called for students. You can go to for students. Let's see what I got. Oh, I got 3 folders: Jerry, Ken, and Tom. Right. So maybe I wanna use do some work. Right. So let's see what can we do. We can just to explore what is included in Jerry. Right. So let's go to Jerry. What is there? It's empty. Right. So maybe we can go to Tom to see what is included in Tom. So one trick is that you can put multiple folder names connected with a forward slash just to tell that what directory you want to go. So in this specific command, I'm originally at the directory Jerry, and I want to go to Tom that is under the for student folder. So how do I do that? I type 2 dot specifying I'm going to go to the parent directory of Jerry that is for students, and then connected with the Tom, then I'm going to for students and the Tom directory. And hit enter, then you are at the Tom, right? So you can see we have more files here, right? So what else can we do? So you can maybe you can create a folder for Jack. Maybe there's a new student called Jack is here. I want to create a folder by using mkdir, stands for making a directory. Right? So making a directory, and it's going to be Tom. Right? So I'm going to create a folder to Jack. Right? So I'm going to create a folder for Jack. All right, so now when I get to Jack, and you can see this empty folder, and what can I do? I can basically create, so here's a way for you to use Linux to create to create a file, right? So one way you can do, you can use echo and then just to type in some characters. Let's say hello from Jack. So I'm going to call it Linux. Maybe I'll call it hello.txt. Right. So by doing so, I'm creating a file, a text file called hello.txt. Its content is going to be hello from Jack. So how do I verify the content in Linux? What you can do is that you can use a command. If the content of the text file is not too large, you can use this cat, right? So basically to print out what is included there. So this command will show you what is included in this file. Right. So how do you want to intuitively editing it in a better graphic user interface? You can use command nano. Nano is a tool, is actually an editor tool for you to use. You just type nano and hello.txt. When you hit enter, then you get into this environment. So you get into this editor, and you can edit it as you are doing in the text pad. The only difference is that mouse doesn't work here. You have to use a cursor using the direction key in the keyboard. For example, I can add another lines. Let's say hello everyone. So when you finish editing, so maybe you can add another explanation or anything. When you finish editing, you may want to save it. How do you save that? You may notice that there's some menus prompt in the bottom. So you want to exit by typing Control X. Similarly, you can find strings by typing Control W. You may want to replace some string with a Control backward slash and so on. Right? So basically, it's tell you all the commands that you can choose. And you want to get more details, you just type Control G. Let's just type Control G. And basically, this is the help menu. Right? So this basically to show you exactly what each command is stand for and how to use that. Right? So of course you want to go back and just to save it, right? So just type Control X, and you are coming back to the editor. And now you want to save it and exit. So when you type Control X, you're trying to exit, but it will ask you whether you want to save your modified buffer, meaning you modify the text file, right? So of course I want to save it. So I tap yes, I tap Y, and then it will tell you what file you want, what file name you want to save. And it by default, it will show you the old file name. Just hit enter, then it's saved. Now let's check the hello.txt again, and then you can see that it has two files. Right? So the best way of using Linux is to create some commands that automate some execution. Right? So it can automatically help you to modify the text file. It can help you to execute some commands under certain scenarios or at a certain time of the day. So everything can be automated. So here in our instruction, we have an example. As you can see, I can basically create a file, create an automatic file create a file that can automatically execute something for me. For example, in this case, I'm going to create a file, but when executing this file, then I can basically, this file will print out some message. Let's say you want to automate your server whenever someone visits your server, you want the server just print out the hello message to greeting to the visitors. So how do we do that? So you can use echo command to create to input some commands. This is actually a type of Linux command. That's the command that we are learning today. The Linux command, typing the command and then redirect it to the hello, say hello.sh. Right, so let's try it. Right, so what we can do is that we want to echo, and then what we want to do inside of it, it's a command that is going to be included in the hello .sh. This is actually a shell file. Right, so shell file is a script that will automatically execute it when it's needed. Right. So what command needs to be included in the hello? What we are going to do is that we want to include the command echo. Right. So it's going to be hello. Right. So I'm going to execute the hello and then to the visitor. Right. So I'm going to echo the hello and then to the visitor. Right. So then I just hit enter. Now, if I check the hello.sh, now what is included is it's going to print out the hello. It's on the terminal. Right. So we cannot. So then when we check the file, so there are multiple options you can use to check the properties of the file. By using -L, you can see the property of all the files in the current directory. You can see that now in the current directory Jack, we have two files, hello.sh and hello.txt. So if we want this file to be executed and just to have it to run as a binary executable file, we need to give this file an executable permission. So this string basically shows you the permission of the file. And in our manual, we have shown you the details about what exactly each section means. But in the first, usually the first bit is the type of the file. If this is just a regular file, the first bit will be dash. And then the next 3 bits will be the permission of the current user. In this case, is a student. The permission of the owner of the file. In this case, you can see this is the file, and this is the owner of the file, and this is the group the file belongs to. All right. So, especially for the hello.sh, the owner of the file is student, and then this file belongs to the group student. And then the first 3 bit basically tells the permission of the owner of the file. Right, so it's going to be so what it means is that student will be able to read the file and then write the file, and then the last bit of this first 3 bit will be executable permission. This one is going to be the executable permission. This bit is going to be executable permission, and if it's writing as a dash, that means this file cannot be executed. So we want to change the file into executable by changing the permission of the file. So what we can do is that we can use chmod and the user of the file and plus executable, giving the current owner of the file executable permission for hello.sh. So when we've done that, when you check it back, you can see that firstly, the executable permission is assigned. And the secondly, hello.sh become a yellow, right? This file color become yellow. usually the Linux use a yellow color to represent this executable file. So now this can be executed. So now let's execute it. How do we execute it? It's similar like how do you usually type each other commands, right? So if you type ls, you are basically executing the file called ls. So you will do the same thing with executing hello.sh. So hello.sh. But some system will allow you to directly execute the file, but some system would ask you to specify which directory of the file belongs to, right? So if you type so then you need to tell the system that I'm going to execute hello.sh that is in the current directory of the file of the current that is in the current directory. So single dot in the Linux basically means the current directory, right? So you are saying I'm going to execute the current directory's file called hello.sh. So when you're typing this, then you can hit enter to execute the file. Right. So what you see, you will see a string hello. So how does the hello generated? It's actually generated by executing the command echo hello, right? So echo hello, right? So so what does that echo hello doing? It actually just to print out the hello, right? Print out the string hello. That's how it works, right? So that's about how do you create a file, how do you create an executable, and how do you run executable, right? So by having those, you can write your complex script to automate a lot of things, right? So for example, we want to, maybe we can further editing the file. So instead of, in addition to echo hello, maybe I will just to show the current time. Right, so maybe I'll use a command time to show the current time. So let's just use, maybe I will use a command date to show the current time. So let me verify if I use the time date, execute the date. Yeah, if I execute it, I run the command date, then it will show me the current date. Right, so I can do the same thing. I already added the date as a command in the hello.sh. Now let me simply execute it. Right, so I will just say hello.sh, and when I write, not only I get a greeting, but also I get the time of the current time. Right, so that's how it works. This command actually have a lot of advanced. You can basically operate the whole operating system with all types of Linux command. For example, you can check the resource of the current machine, right? By typing top, then you will see a dynamically changing output that basically show you how much memory the machine will have, and what's the CPU utilization, and which command has taken most of the CPU resources. So this will basically like the task manager in Windows. And how do you exit? Simply type the key Q. Type the key Q, then you will be able to exit that. And you can also, so you can managing Linux with, you can managing the whole system with different kind of commands, right? So that's pretty much, I think we can cover today. We will cover more, but feel free to register account and then try the Linux instruction. Try the Linux command, the Linux tutorial lab, and it includes, it basically talks about file system, user management, permission control, text editing, system management, and so on. So it can basically cover all the details about what we are talking today. All right. So feel free to try it and let me know what you think. Thank you. I'll see you next time.